Get ready, because this week we're reviewing Monster of the Week. Hey guys, Bobby from the GM table, and this week I was prepared to do part 2 of our Savage Worlds Crash Course, but I'm going to be real honest here. We had a setback. Today is the day before recording, and I just got a new tripod in because my kid kinda smashed mine last week, and I couldn't record. At least not on a tripod and being level, and it actually being set up with lighting, and I'm not going to do that without it. But, on the plus side, while I had downtime when I couldn't be shooting, I couldn't be editing because I was all caught up, I finally got a chance to read a book I recently bought. Monster of the Week. And I'm probably going to show some art and stuff like that, the typical review stuff. But if you're not familiar with this is a powered by the Apocalypse game. Basically, Apocalypse World, Dungeon World, Monster of the Week, Monster Hearts. Technically, City of Mist back there is an Apocalypse World, or a powered by the Apocalypse game, though that modifies the system more than I think any of the others do. Now, if you're not familiar with that kind of game, the biggest thing to get used to is the GM doesn't roll dice. You don't roll any dice. You come up with the mystery, you come up with the NPCs, and you basically spend all of your mental capacity role-playing, thinking about motivations, and giving challenges to your players. You don't roll dice. Players, on the other hand, do. And it's actually a pretty simple system mechanically. You have a set of moves. All of these games have what's called a playbook, which is essentially, instead of your character sheet, you have what may be actually just a double-sided single sheet. Some are longer, depending on the game. But it's a playbook, and this will tell you all the special things your character can do. It's actually this really cool system where each playbook, in fact, I'm going to flip through to some of these. One's like the Flake. Now, in the book, the Flake is like 4 pages. Most of the playbooks are. But once it's in character sheet format and stuff, it's actually not that long. It's 1 sheet front and back. And it goes over how you'll look, and you kind of pick from a list. Are you man, woman, hidden? Some of them are like androgynous or asexual if you're like the divine, and you could be an angel that doesn't technically have gender. So some do have unique options, but all of them kind of have the basic options as well. And then there's descriptors you pick and stuff like that. Blah, blah, blah. That's getting into the characters. I was talking about mechanics. So the big thing about that is that gives you special moves you can do. Everybody kind of has this class, and you pick some of the things you get to do from the beginning. Usually you have 1 or 2 you start with, and then you get to pick 2 to 3 more that you get as well at character creation. And as you level up, you can pick more off a set list. But the basic mechanic is you roll 2d6 and you add an attribute. And the attributes kind of change from game to game. Most of them keep it pretty much the same. This one adds luck, which is actually more like a point pool. I'm not getting into all the specifics. I think I'm going to do a crash course on this eventually. But what it is, you roll 2d6, you add something that can range anywhere basically from -2 to +3. If you roll a 6 or lower, you fail. And it's going to be awful. It's going to be really, really bad for your character. But one of the things I love is every time you fail, every time you roll really badly, you also get an experience point. So failure actually helps you grow. A 7 to 9, usually you do good, but there's going to be some kind of cost. Maybe you get hurt in the process. Maybe you have to choose between 2 things. And a 10 or up is really good. You typically succeed with no consequences, anything like that. You get further in the game. Your basic moves, which are the things everybody can do, which is its own list, also 1 sheet. It's really 2 sheets, kind of give you everything you need. You can pick to become advanced in certain moves, and then you get like this, if you do 12 or better, you do something super cool, but you have to be advanced in the move. That's high-level stuff. Again, this isn't a crash course. This is a review. I haven't gotten to play this yet. I'm going to start playing this next week, though I love it. If you're familiar with the Adventure Zone, their first campaign was D&D 5th edition. When they finished that, they went into Monster of the Week. That was the thing that kind of sold me on, all right, I've been thinking about getting this game. I've been thinking about looking at it. And then that's what made me pull the trigger of when I got some extra cash, I'm going to buy it. And weirdly enough, when I had to buy a new tripod, I went, screw it. I got some extra cash too, thanks to my patrons. Well, plug down at the bottom. But thanks to my patrons, I was able to quickly replace my tripod. So I ordered this at the same time. And this came in, and I was able to flip through it some time before I got all my videos set up. and I'm loving it. Now, most of this is stuff you could see anytime somebody talks about an apocalypse engine or powered by the apocalypse game. None of this is really new. But what I don't see a lot of people talking about, and why, this is how far in I am. I'm not to the end of the book, but I went, you know what? I gotta fill a video. I want to review this right now, because this page alone, this is like the second or third page into the Keeper section, which is like the GM side of the book, has all the information you need as a beginning GM to run any game. This has some of the best advice. And it's some stuff that I'm sure if you dig or if you've been GMing for a long time, you've heard everywhere. But once I read this, I was like, it just lays it out here for you. I think any new GM, and if you're running in a modern setting or running mysteries, it's going to be useful regardless. But it kind of has this whole spiel about how it's your job to prepare the mystery, to prepare the NPCs and plan everything up until the players get involved and have an idea of what will happen if they don't get involved, and gives you some tips on how you can kind of try and predict, but to never force your players to do what you want. This is some of the best advice I'm not going to say I never had, but it's just condensed in here. So far, I'm about 4 or 5 pages into the Keeper section, and all of this has been great advice for anyone running a game if you want to care about story. Because the thing is Powered by the Apocalypse games, the mechanics are really, really minimal. It's mostly a storytelling game. They even start with, you play this game as a conversation. Because again, you just kind of roll, you do well or you do bad, and they're all stats. And it's mostly, I know a lot of games say, if it doesn't matter, you shouldn't roll for it. This one is literally, you don't roll unless this, or happens. Unless they're doing something that's on the move list, where we already know automatically it'll happen. This is how you do it. What always intrigued me about this once I found out about it was how mysteries handle, because you can investigate a mystery, and depending on how well you do, you get a number of holes, which are questions you can just ask the GM, and the GM has to answer honestly and truthfully. They can be a little cryptic, they can be a little mysterious on it, but they can't lie to you. And it's from a list of specific questions. But you just go and you look at that list, and boom, you have great generic questions that are kind of this checklist to go, all right, I need to know the answers to this, and this for a mystery. And those are all things I can associate to clues. This is becoming a great tool for my ETU games, for Hellgate High that I'm working on, for modern monster mystery games. This is just becoming a really good resource. Yeah, about half of the book is stuff specifically for this game. And everything I've seen of this game, I've done a lot of research. I've been privy to some Powered by the Apocalypse games. I mean, I've done City of Mist. So I know, for the most part, I kind of like this system anyways. But I've already gotten so much out of this book that if I find out I don't like this game, though I'm feeling like I will, you can kind of tend to just get a gut feeling. But if I don't like actually playing this game, this book's still going to be useful. Because this book has stuff on how to write mysteries. Similar to City of Mist, it had this huge thing. And I will say, if you're comparing the two, if you want like a really deep dive tome on the construction of a mystery and what's known as the iceberg method, where you start with a surface layer and everything goes deeper, and it's this rich, very tactile, very intricate mysteries. These long, big, complex mysteries. City of Mist. Great at that. It's a great read for that. It's also a gorgeous book, let's be honest. And yeah, but sometimes I don't want that complex of a mystery. Sometimes I don't want these massive cases that'll take months to solve. Monster of the Week is the same kind of thing. Now, granted, City of Mist is fables, and you've seen my review for that. I don't know what side this comes up on, but the card for my City of Mist review will pop up. Monster of the Week is more puffy, supernatural, angel, Dresden Files. Now, a lot of those do have these bigger arcing stories, but at the end of the day, they're mainly episodic. And this gives you the tools to make 1 to 2 session adventures, 1 to 2 session Monster of the Weeks, or Mystery of the Week games. And I actually prefer that. I like short games. I like games where I can kind of move on. But they do also have tools in here on how to make arcs and how to involve your arcs into your game. So you can have episodic gameplay with overarching structure. I've always been someone who loves the concept of running my games like TV shows. I do episodes, I do seasons, and I do series. Episodes are either bottle episodes where they're completely individual, core episodes where they tie directly into the arc for the season, or kind of it's not a bottle episode, it'll have elements to the core, but it's still its own episode. Seasons tend to have one big arc. Buffy was one of the first in TV to really do this, and that's where Big Bad stuff came from. But then you have your season arcs, and then your series kind of talk about the big themes and stuff like that. I've done some videos about that. They might have went away in the Purge. I'll look over and I might redo them anyways. But this fits my style of how I already write games very, very well. I think this is a great toolkit, even if you separate yourself from the system in here, which again isn't that much, but it's a good pick up and play system anyways. Just the advice and the structure of it in here is worth it. This is about $20. Yeah, it's paperback, but it's only about $20, and for my money, I think it's completely worth it, even just as a guidebook for how to help you either remind you how to GM, or if you're a new GM, pick this up, check it out. If you're running ETU or some of my favorite Savage Worlds games, because I know most of my guys here are Savage Worlds players, this is still super useful because it's about building story and narrative and how to make judgment calls on when to roll and not roll. That is, regardless of system, that's just good advice. Anyways, with that, I will catch you guys later.